Yes, thank you. I and myself and José Manuel Barroso are here to speak on behalf of the European Union member states. Also those who are actually not present at this G20 meeting. I'm representing one strong European Union speaking with one voice for Europe. I have received a mandate from my European colleagues at the European summit that we had last week. That is a coordinated EU view that I will bring forward at this summit. The European Union is together the world's #1 leading economy. It's therefore very important that we are here present during this meeting. We think that the G20 process has been very vital in the recovery of the financial markets and how to meet up the economic recession with the meetings in Washington and London. The main discussions of this meeting is, of course, the overall economic situation, how to promote recovery and develop future growth models. It will also be a discussion on how to reform financial regulatory systems. We will also discuss the international financial systems as a whole, and there is also foreseen a discussion on energy and climate. When it comes to world economy, I think there is a broad consensus that we need to continue to implement stimulus measures for some time further. The world economy is still in a difficult situation. We see signs of stabilization of the situation, the growth coming back to the economy. But at the same time, we also see risk for rising unemployment that will stay with us for quite some while. It's now a need to move towards sustainability when it regards public finances, which has been an important part of our discussion in Europe. We want to formulate exit strategies, and we want them to be implemented in a coordinated manner here at also the G20 meeting. To promote future growth and to avoid similar crises in the future, we need also agreement about strengthening of economic coordination between the countries. When it comes to financial market regulations, we are very worried at the fact that the banks seems to be returning to the pre-crisis compensation policies. And if the bank think that it's time for business as usual, we will advise them to think again. We could last Thursday say in Europe that we had seen the bonus bubble bursting, and that's what we also hope to see here in Pittsburgh. The idea that banks should be allowed to keep profits for themselves, but to send the bill for losses to taxpayer will not be accepted. I expect that the G20 will make a clear statement about the need for global rules on bonuses and compensation. Also expect broad agreement on how to strengthen supervision of the financial markets in general. We will also have a discussion, of course, on the bodies as such, on the governance of IMF and multilateral development banks. We could see the need for better reflection of the redistribution of economic powers that we have seen in the world since these institutions came in place. But at the same time, and that's very clear coming from a small or a medium-sized country, it's very important for us to be represented when we discuss these things in the world. We would not like to see any kind of taxation without representation. On climate financing, we are both coming from New York and the UN Climate Summit, and we are both, I can say, very worried about the situation for the climate, both as such and also when it comes to the negotiations. They are in fact slowing down. They are not going in the right direction. This is not acceptable. We are very worried for the climate, and we are very worried that we need to speed up the negotiations. Within the EU, we have already decided with the world's most ambitious climate agreement, and we call for other developed parts of the world to interact and to give signals so that we could speed up this process when we move further to Copenhagen.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to underline one or two points made already by Prime Minister Reinfeldt. Of course, I subscribe all these comments. I think this crisis is much more than an economic or financial crisis. It was also a crisis of the way we deal with the society. It was also a crisis about the values which we should respect. And I think we have to draw all the lessons from this crisis. We need global rules based on universal values reflecting the reality of economic interdependence. The G20 is making a huge difference in tackling the crisis. Where previous crises have brought conflict, the G20 process has delivered cooperation. Where previous crises have seen chaos, the G20 has achieved some level of coordination. So I'm very happy with the prospects of a recognition of the process, of the G20 process. I think it is important for global governance, this idea of increased economic cooperation that the G20 brings. And as you know, the European Union has been, from the beginning, supporting this G20 summit process. So this is the first point. It's very important to draw the lessons from this crisis. This crisis has shown how far goes our interdependence. So we need to achieve global responses to global problems. Precisely because of the huge potential the G20 brings, we must keep up the momentum here in Pittsburgh. We are the first generation of world leaders to have such an opportunity. We must seize it. So it is important that we come not to business as usual, to everything as it was before, and that we repeat the same mistakes. I think there is a growing consensus that huge global imbalances have to be addressed, that this crisis also brought very important social problems, namely the rising unemployment, and we have to put the fight against unemployment at the center of our concerns, that we cannot allow financial markets to return to some kind of behavior that we have seen completely unethical and irresponsible, that we cannot also continue indefinitely with deficit financing and huge debts. And I would add also, because in fact all these issues are interlinked, we cannot keep delaying action on climate change, and we need a serious roadmap towards a Doha deal if you are really serious about fighting protectionism. So that's what we expect from today's and tomorrow's meeting, and that is this spirit that the European Union comes to this summit. I particularly want to underline the importance we give to the principles for a charter for sustainable economic activity. It's a way of providing the economic and ethical basis for global governance. I think it is also important to take specific action to rein in exorbitant bonuses. It's important from the reasons I've said before, in terms of the ethical principles and also the legitimacy of our financial systems and the way they are seen by our citizens. And we should not forget, as Prime Minister Reinfeldt underlined so clearly, the need to look at the finance of the fight against climate change. Europe, I believe, has much to offer to this global governance. In fact, we are, and I'm proud to say it, we are the first to take now concrete decisions, legislative decisions, based on the agreements of London. Just this week, the European Commission, after achieving a unanimous backing of the member states based on the analysis of the La Rosière group, the European Commission adopted yesterday detailed legislative proposals to create a European system of financial supervision. So we are indeed doing our part of the job, because it is important to understand one thing. The G20 is a forum, but afterwards those political decisions have to be followed up, have to be implemented at national or regional level. It's not just a talking shop, the G20. So we need afterwards to implement what we have agreed. For instance, we have agreed in London that no financial entity should escape financial regulation or supervision. We have now to translate this in practice. We have agreed that we should reinforce our mechanisms of regulation and supervision. Yes, in Europe we are doing that. And so this is very important to understand that apart from these summits, there is afterwards the work to deliver. And that's why I would like to underline this word delivery. And I think it's fair to say that the European Union is doing its best to keep its promises and its commitment to these principles of global governance.
Okay, let's open for